Have you ever thought of playing Mr. Fantastic, but you got discouraged because you thought he was a little weird, or a streamer told you he's horrible?
Mr. Fantastic. Am I doing this again? Fantastically bad.
Next, we have Reed. Terrible character. Ult sucks, no damage, no chungus. He's just a tanky guy.
Well, as a Grandmaster Mr. Fantastic main, I'm here to show you that he can actually be really useful and really fun. So without further ado, welcome to my beginner's guide to Mr. Fantastic. So first of all, we're gonna start with the most important and most basic mechanic, which is flicking your hits. In case you didn't know, Mr. Fantastic is able to actually cleave with his primary attack, which can make super useful hitting enemies that are really grouped up together, or hitting an enemy that can move really fast, such as Spider-Man or Rocket Raccoon. So it is actually a really vital mechanic that you want to make sure to use pretty much all the time. Every time you throw a primary attack, you want to make sure that you're flicking your hits. And make sure to flick them as well once you enter your inflator form, as it works just the same. Your big hits will flick to multiple enemies, doing a massive amount of damage. It is an exceptional ability to use against big groups of people. It dishes out so much damage and helps out a lot. Now, the second ability I want to talk about is the right click on Mr. Fantastic. So if you right click on an opponent and you happen to hit them, you can actually left click another opponent for free and bounce them right into each other, as you can clearly see here. It is really good disruption in the middle of a team fight. But you also have one more option. If you instead right click and left click the same opponent, you actually pull them towards you instead, and it also happens to do more single target damage. So it is also a really useful ability. But there's also one more option that you have, which is to actually E onto them, as you can see. Once you grab an opponent, you'll see a little option there that tells you to click E, and that basically just makes it so you dash onto them. But you still have to generally look at your opponent's direction, otherwise you'll end up dashing at somebody else. I don't find it super useful, as if you just do your right click completely on a different person, it'll do more damage. You do more damage that way, and it seems like kind of a waste of a dash to me. I rather most of the time just use the pull, as I can pull enemies into my team to kill them, or pull an enemy out of my team to get them away from healers, for example. So it is incredibly useful. I think that is the best use of this ability. Now, since the E ability is actually quite self-explanatory, I want to go over the ult, as I believe is a little bit more important. Most people believe that Mr. Fantastic ult is a little bit useless. The damage is a little bit underwhelming, but it can actually be quite useful if you happen to use a low ceiling for your advantage. So in case you didn't know, if you ult as Mr. Fantastic under a very low ceiling, you'll actually get stopped in the air a lot faster, which means you'll slam down a lot faster, increasing your damage per second, killing people faster, giving them overall less time to heal and less time to escape. And the same thing goes for the slow, right? They're slower all the time. They get slowed throughout the whole combo. It is a lot harder to escape. And as you can see, I'm showing you a few clips here, just so you can have a basic idea of how what this looks like, since it's a little bit harder to replicate in the practice tool. Another way that I like to use this ult a lot is especially to, number one, bait support ults, because you'll find that it actually happens quite a lot, that when you ult, instantly some support on the enemy team will use their defensive ult in order to completely avoid your damage. That happens a lot more often than you think, and that is a really good use for my ultimate, so that way the other DPS that I'm playing with can have more damage put out. Or another use of it is to combo it with other characters in this game. I find especially more useful with your other DPS, because since your ult applies a slow, it's actually a lot easier to hit enemy characters. So if you have something like a Black Panther on your team or a Magic, ulting the enemy team and slowing them all actually makes it a lot easier for them to play the game. So if you time it correctly with your teammates with proper communication, it can actually be a pretty great combo. Think of things like Black Panther, Magic, maybe a Punisher ult. Those kinds of things become a lot easier and more powerful once you realize that the whole enemy team is slowed. And one more thing I want to point out about the ultimate is that, as you can see here, once you ult, your HP remains the same. I have 350 HP right now as I ult, and that can be quite annoying because if you are just flying through the air like this, you can get shot at pretty easily. Since you are inflated, it's a lot easier to hit you, and you'll actually end up dying quite fast. You won't get nearly as much value as if you use this trick that I'm about to show you. So you want to make sure that every single time that you ult, you are actually on your inflated mode. If you are on your inflated mode before you ult, you actually keep that HP for as long as you ult. So as you can see here, I have 800 HP throughout the whole ultimate. So always, and I mean always, make sure that you have that extra HP before you ult. It is absolutely vital. So now I want to show you a quick trick with the Mr. Fantastic team up that he has with Invisible Woman. It is actually a super easy animation cancel that allows you to go through the team up animation a lot faster. All you want to do, it's very simple, is to press Shift and C at the same time, one after the other, super fast, and you'll see that you go through the team up animation almost immediately. The reason I think this is useful is that when you're on low HP, you get to go invulnerable, right? So that means you won't die, and as you are invulnerable, you start farming that extra armor immediately, because in case you didn't know, you only get that armor from the team up if you're missing HP or taking damage. So I find this super useful. You can go invulnerable, farm a lot of shields, and the second you're vulnerable again, you get that extra HP, gives your healers a lot more time to heal you. Basically, it just gives you a lot more survival time, which is prime for this character. This character wants to go in, mess around, survive as long as possible, and waste as much time from the enemy team as possible. So this trick helps a lot more than you think. So the last thing I want to show you, it is super simple combo that I recommend everyone learning. Is now possible due to the E buff, which is to right click, left click somebody, pull them in, and then E them even further in. It is actually super useful to get enemies close to your team and then killing them super fast. Make it super hard for them to escape. The trick here is to, after right click and left clicking, walking to either the right or the left to open up the space and pull them even further in. All right, and then once you master that, you can do the ability, and then as they land on the ground, you can E them. So that way you get the maximum distance here. You can pull them super far in. It is super useful, really easy to hit against tanks, especially if they're immobile like Groot. Once you get them in this much, it is very rarely that they'll actually survive. So I really recommend this combo. It is super simple. Just practice a little bit and you'll master it in no time. Alright guys, so that was basically it for my Mr. Fantastic guide. This is for complete beginners, and don't forget, this is actually the first part of my guide. On this one, I just wanted to quickly go over his simple abilities, so that way we don't have to waste time on our second part, where I'll actually go through one of my own games, and I'll give you an insight of how I think, how I make the plays that I make, what I go for, what I'm looking for in these grandmaster games. So I hope you'll find that useful, and make sure to activate the notifications so that way once the second part comes out, you'll be able to watch it immediately. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found it useful, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. See you there.